this is not the same NC State team. Big old DJ Burns, long gone, got his Ozempic or whatever, and is trying to make it happen in the pros. DJ Horn is gone. Diarra is no longer there.
Where did he go? He went pro?
Don't know.
I think maybe.
And I don't know where DJ Burns. He's not in the NBA. Is he G League or overseas?
He's not in my life, and that's the most important thing. But Diarra,
no, he
was
was
good.
Casey Morsell is no longer there. So there's a lot of turnover for State. Now, there are still some familiar names. Jaden Taylor, Ben Middlebrooks, Michael O'Connell, all guys who played big roles for them last year. Dontre Styles, former Tar Heel, has been here on the pod.
He's on the board.
He is on the board. Dontrez went Carolina to Georgetown, now Georgetown to NC State. So some guys that you may know. None of those players are State's leading scorer. That is Marcus Hill. Bowling Green, Adam? Is that right? Transfer from Bowling Green. So State's they're 9-6. They're 2-2 in the conference. And Adam, I think State falls into this pool of teams. I don't think State's bad. I don't think State's one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the league. They're kind of in this pool of teams that are pretty good, and they can have good games. They can have games where they don't look good. They had a stretch in late November. They were in a Thanksgiving time period tournament where they lost back-to-back days to Purdue and to BYU, lost a game to Texas. The issue that State has, Adam, is I'm not really sure they have a lot of good wins. I mean, they beat Florida State at home in overtime. They just had a nice come-from-behind win over Notre Dame. A tough stretch here for the Irish. Notre Dame led by 10, I think, in the second half and ended up losing by 1 for the second straight game. And again, none of this has any bearing on what will happen on Saturday, but State's non-conference wins – USC, Upstate, Presbyterian, Coastal Carolina, Colgate, William and Mary, Coppin State, and Rider. That's not very good. That's not very good as far as quality of opponent. But here's what we also know. State will be fired up. They'll run a million highlights of the ACC championship game. They'll probably trot out DJ Byrne. We'll find out where he's been. And so there will be a lot of energy around this game. There always is. I personally think Carolina is the better team, but I also certainly understand that the Tar Heels have in no way proven that they are ready to just consistently run through teams, and State is good enough to win this game 100%. So the Tar Heels will need to go play some basketball to win the game. But I do think the Tar Heels are the better, more talented team, but that does not mean they're going to win.
The Pack doesn't turn the ball over hardly at all. They force a good amount of turnovers, and they're going to apply some defensive pressure. Carolina can't be careless bringing the ball up the court. If Cadeau gets in foul trouble, which wouldn't surprise anybody, you're going to need someone else to handle the ball carefully and wisely, but not too carefully and wisely because you still want to attack them and create some easy baskets. They don't shoot the three very well, and they don't shoot it very often, but they're pretty good at getting to the free throw line. I mean, all these things are relative to the schedule that Jones just told you about, in which their best win is Florida State. I mean, they're not that different than the Tar Heels, other than their wins are worse. Like they needed to win one of those good non-conference games, and I'm sure that's what they were betting on, but they lost every single one of them. They're okay inside, but they're terrible at keeping teams off the offensive glass. You can get some second chances against them. Will Middlebrooks is still there. Ben Middlebrooks. Why did I call him Will?
I don't know. Does he have like a brother?
I don't know. And then Brandon Huntley Hatfield is a capable post guy.
Yeah, I mean, Huntley Hatfield, Tennessee, and then Louisville, and now State. And actually, I was going to bring that up. I realized I didn't mention him when we were going through it. Middlebrooks and Huntley Hatfield, a very solid post pairing. I mean, Middlebrooks is high effort guy. he feels like he's one that kind of gets State fired up with both his actions on the court and kind of his attitude. Huntley Hatfield played really well against Carolina last year with Louisville. He matched, remember, he went toe-to-toe with Bacot pretty easily. So I think they are two good college big guys. And so Carolina's going to have to be able to match that again like it did against SMU. I do think Jalen Washington has played better here over the last couple of weeks, certainly these last 2 or 3 games. Jalen Withers, you flip a coin, and when he's really good, he's good. When he struggles, he can struggle. And so you would hope if you can get the good version of Withers, that always helps. I know you were impressed with some of the toughness plays that Vin Allen Lubin made in the game against SMU, and those guys are going to need to do those things again because this is a good pairing of, again, just good college big guys that State has.
And a little more athletic than what SMU put out there.
Not as big, but more athletic.
Right, which it felt like that was a problem for the Mustangs, that they couldn't quite keep up with the Tar Heels when they had their biggest size in there. State will be able to, assuming Huntley Hatfield decides to try, which he will against Carolina. So it's a little more of the type of big guys that have given the Tar Heels trouble this year, and we'll see if they've made the progress to be able to turn that back.
State's non-conference strength of schedule rating 318.
And there's only like 362, 363.
Just for reference, Carolina's is 7th. State's is 318th. So just very different schedules in the non-conference that they played.
Well, but you have to, and this is a problem league-wide. You have to be smart enough not to play the really, really bad teams. Like, don't play those teams that are in the 300s.
Yeah, you maybe play 1, but you can't play 6.
You got to play in the 100 to 200 when you're scheduling your home wins, which is what you're basically doing. They've got to be in that 1 to 200 range because those 300s are dragging State down, which in turn is dragging all the rest of us down.
So 4 o'clock start in Raleigh. We'll be on there at 3 p.m. First of 2 meetings, Carolina and State. The future of ACC scheduling, who knows? You play 3 teams right now twice. Carolina's got Duke, State, and Pitt that they play twice. Somehow, we've talked, why is Pitt? It's like they since they keep adding teams, they keep changing the way the scheduling is done, and they're like, just put Carolina and Pitt together again. They'll be fine.
And this being the year you would have liked to play Virginia home and home.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, Adam, anything else from the Tar Heels? We talked about this a little bit on the Rapid Reactions podcast, but it's an important stretch here for Carolina. They have a really tough sequence at the end of this month and the beginning of February where they have a 4-game stretch that is Pitt twice, Duke, and at Clemson. That's a 4-game stretch. So it is going to be – that is going to be a difficult stretch. So if you can get some wins and you can find your footing and find your stride a little bit, which I do think, if nothing else, I think you see Carolina figuring out how it wants to try and do this. And that's what you should – like that, you're at that point of the journey that you should be doing that. Like you've seen your team now for a couple months against varying levels of competition. For Carolina, really good competition. So you have a better feel now for who are the guys that should be playing the most minutes, who shouldn't be playing many minutes, and how do you best approach things. And it feels like Carolina's at least getting into that, which it should be, which you hope then puts them in position to be successful moving forward.
The team that beat SMU would have won a couple of those games that Carolina lost earlier in the year.
Absolutely it would have. So, again, 4 o'clock, we'll be on there at 3 p.m.